Yes, the mic. The mic would be good. Here we go. We're here. We really are. We're really here. Oh my gosh. OMG, RM Johns and Aziz and Barnabas. Carol, Darlene, Meditations owner. Yay! Good morning, RM Johns. All right, living in Eden. I like that. Okay, wait. You've seen the backdrop. I can make this bigger. There we go. Move that over. Look at me go. Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Let's move this more like this. Hi, guys. This is like so off the cuff. Okay. Hey, Juliet. I'm purposely, again, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm hoping to follow up with you this week. Jack Attack. I am purposely doing a super low-key scope today because, Rebecca, how are you? I want to bring you into the moment you hope you will never have. And I want you to know that you can survive the moment you hope you will never have. I had the moment that I hoped I would never have Saturday night at our show. And the show was awesome. Thanks for sharing, Dave. The show was amazing. And so much glory was in this show. Like, we had people crammed in the barn, and there was Broadway, there was opera, there was jazz, we did children's poetry, we did, what else did we do? My son, Jean-Marc, did the most hysterical version of the king from Hamilton. They wheeled him in, and he was dressed like the king, and people just died. We had comedy, we had the stuff, and I did a set, right? And I showed you guys on Friday how I was going to do something that scared me and what it was like for me, even along the process of healing and getting better, excuse me. And I had the best time ever. Having the worst moment every singer doesn't want to have. And I know you can't wait to hear about it. In fact, I just want to reproduce it for you live because it was that thing. I got to tell you, God is gracious to me. You know, and I want to talk to you about the lifeline of living free. And so much of it, I tell people all the time, is the ability to show up and be right where you are by the grace of God. Life verse for perfectionist, neurotic, freaked out people is by the grace of God, I am what I am. And his grace to me is not without effect. Also, the Apostle Paul says, I have these weaknesses and yet I am confident. I should riff on that verse, that he talks about the weaknesses that he has. And he says, yet I am confident. And most of us say, well, I have these strengths, you know, I'm not so bad. We try to puff ourselves up and we use ego. And then we go, well, but why am I still so insecure? I'm puffing myself up. I'm building this thing, but I'm so dang insecure. Look at, you know, we try to puff the bio, right, with all of our, you know, I mean, a lot of us, I mean, some of us are struggling so much with self-worth that we don't even want to stand up and say our value. But there are some of us who live based on a bio of, hey, see me, look what I did, look at my achievements. And yet we are not confident, we're insecure. And yet the Apostle Paul says, and I'll drag out that scripture tomorrow, the Apostle Paul says, I have these weaknesses, yet I am confident. And he's the one who wrote, by the grace of God, I am who I am, or am what I am, by his grace, but his grace to me is not without effect. And this is the glory of treasure in an earthen vessel. This is the glory we have to find. This is the glory we have to step into in order to be free, because nobody likes their thighs. And you're like, what does that have to do with anything? I'm just saying, nobody likes their thighs, okay? I'm just saying, any woman who isn't a little nervous about that little thing right back here isn't being honest with you. Nobody likes the things under their, they're just humanity pieces in us that just are what they are. And you get certain things, like I got some good stuff, but there's stuff that I don't, I'm not super excited about in my personality, my skills, my talents, my history, my family of origin, my body. We all get this mixed package. And the funny part of it is that the freedom is in that exposure of, oh my gosh. But our problem is, and where we come into these moments of exposure, which I'm going to share, I'm just going to illustrate for you how fabulous it was for me Saturday night. We have these moments of exposure, and we have so tied up our value to our performance. We're just sure that if anyone sees us right where we are and who we are in weakness, that it'll just that will go into the hole. And I want to tell you that there are those moments when I was overcoming performance anxiety and the terror of all of that. There were moments there was such a critical observer in my head that everything was ones and zeros. Value, no value. Good, no good. Deserves a voice. Can call yourself a musician. Can't call yourself a musician. And I had to really go through and evaluate the series of things that I had laid out that qualified me to sing, that qualified me to have a voice, that qualified me to be considered a professional, that qualified me. And I had to go, you know what? I've allowed so much, yes, they do get us tied up. I've allowed so much chatter in my head that has gone uncriticized on my side, unexamined, right? And so most of us have this thing, this worst fear. And it's what's happening is like, if I do X and it turns out like this, that will prove my deepest concern that I don't deserve to be. I'm not really a musician. I'm not really an artist. I'm not really a good mom. I'm not a good person. I'm not beautiful. I'm not you. And we have a gauntlet of thoughts, right, that goes through our mind. And we're just sure that there's going to be the proof, that's going to prove it. And so we don't want to take the risk just in case we find out that it's really true, that we're not lovable, not beautiful, not pure, not redeemable, that we're used goods, we're damaged goods, we're the person who you really, everyone goes, oh, cringe, she thinks she can sing, right? And we have this thing set up so we avoid, because we're just sure that if we show up and we can't perform to a super high level, that it will prove what we believe about the worst fear moment, okay? And this is exactly the opposite of what the Apostle Paul does. Maybe one of you guys can look this up, where he says, I have this and this and this and this and this, yet I am confident. I've got these issues, right? We have this thing where if I can prove, if I can try, if I can do this, if I can weigh this amount, if I can, then it will prove my worth and value. But I will tell you something, that I have been, by the grace of God, as I've been overcoming fear and performance anxiety, I have had very few, I have actually never had the moment that I had Saturday night in all these years. I'm freer now than I ever was, and I guess it was time for me to have that worst fear moment. And I want you to see it. I'm just going to reproduce it here for you today. But even so, when I have gone and done a really beautiful performance in spite of the fear and come out the other end, it actually didn't benefit me to have, in the deepest place of my being, to have played flawlessly. And there are several performances I did under the deepest stress of overcoming performance anxiety where I couldn't believe the quality of how well I played. It was like, wow, I can't believe this. And it was amazing. It was glorious. But it still tended to affirm a view that I slid into home base and I'm really okay because my performance was here. And we want to be in excellence, but I'll tell you, the freedom for excellence has to come out of the freedom of being in the process where we are. And for me, the thing that I believe is the most healing, one of the most healing things in the overcoming fear life is exposure. More and more exposure of the foibles and the flaws and the things that that might not have been that great, and learning to let those be, let myself be loved right in that and be okay, and to separate the value of what I have to bring from where I am in the process of bringing it. Does that make sense to you guys? So people will find, in fact, Kenny Werner, who's a kind of an Eastern mystic guy, who's a jazz musician, does a whole thing on fear in music, and one of his key points is that you play the best when you don't care what anybody thinks. People rise to this whole level where when you're by yourself or whatever, you're singing in the shower, you just don't care. And part of that, getting to the don't care, I think I'll always care to some degree, but I think I've learned to value being loved in the process of what I have to bring, and knowing there's a seat for me at the table every step of the way. So as a musician, certain gigs and stuff I'm probably not ready for. I don't know that I'll ever be ready for them because I don't know what God has called me to do. But there's a place for you to show up right where you are, warts and all, your fly is down, there's a little thing here in your teeth, you mess up in your speech, you're just, you sweat, your palms sweat, you got the thing under your arm, you're singing a little out of key. There's a place for each of us to show up with all of that and be just the right person for the moment, who is just has the right gifts and the qualities and the level of excellence that is called for in that place. And we have ones and zeros. We have all or nothing. And in music, the number one thing that I think, hey, Andrea, God, you guys look like you were having so much fun in DC. I was like, why am I not in DC? I'll tell you why. Because one of the most powerful weekends happened right here. Because we had Broadway in the Barn. And I told you guys we had this live show and performance, and people came, and we had so much healing happening here because people were so happy to be together, to have normalcy, to have laughter. We had a kid who was very broken come Friday night for dinner, and he said, I never laugh like this. And the weekend, just spiritual kids started just showing up and hanging out, and they were in the show, and they were like, we've never seen anything like this before. And it turned into healing, and it turned into healing sessions because people came and laughed, and there was entertainment, and there was beauty. So the whole weekend was like this. Yes, Andrea, we will meet soon. I hope so. So it was interesting because I learned something about ministry this weekend. I learned about how attractive entertainment, laughter, family, creativity, opening your home can be, contagious. Like viral in all the best senses. Like people who came here, they really caught something. They were in danger of catching some freedom and some joy and some laughter and some spirit. And so it was really, really cool. And I had one of my spiritual kids send a text to my husband who wasn't here. And in that text, he basically reflected that what was here in the house and what he experienced and the love he experienced this weekend, he attributed it to my husband's father heart. And we were, so what I'm saying is we have a lot to bring in the world, but it's going to come in these packages that are so dang human and flawed, and toilet paper on the back of your shoe, and you go to the bathroom and your dress is caught up in your pantyhose, and so I sang the song, Could you believe that despite who you are, that you're worth all the effort to woo from afar? Could you believe you are love? So break up the marshmallows, marbles and jacks. And it was talking about questions and facts. It's possibly possible you could relax and dance as you choose to believe you're loved. So that song just went great, and the anointing was all over it. And it was like, wow, this is really fun. I'm just getting so free, and the environment was just, the kind that really nurtures people and gives you all a leg up. It's like there's a horse and you can't get on it, and somebody's the one who gets you up. It's just one of those environments. So I'm sitting there going, okay, now I'm going to dig in for the ministry and talk about fear beyond every fear. There's a world I long to explore, discovering more and more of you. So I'm doing it. I'm like having a great time. And I get to the end. It's the money note. It is the freaking money note. It's the note, Oh, and let me tell you what happened right before. So standing right there, I had some people here, and they were like, wow, your daughter, what? Where did she come from? She can sing opera, and she sings musical theater. And I know a lot of kids sing musical theater, believe me. But I'm just telling you, they come in thinking, yeah, it'll be good. And they kind of go, wow, right? And the lady goes, yeah, and when she sings those high notes, I just can't believe it. She just sings them, and they float, and they're perfect. And so guys, here I am at the end of this song. And it's the money note. It's my money note. It's the mom money note, okay? And it goes, yes, I'll take the chance and follow to the promised land and find you beyond every ready fear. Except for it goes, find you beyond every And I just said to everybody, well, there it is. That's the moment no singer ever wants to have. I just had it right in front of y'all, right after my daughter did her perfect notes, and I just can't. And there was no covering it. It was so exposed. And I'm the woman around here with a reputation. I have the jazz radio show. I have the albums. I'm supposed to be the expert. And right there in front of everyone, I can't. Yes, I screwed the pooch. La 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 la. And I had to decide right there, I'll find you beyond every fear. And I know there was something just beautiful and powerful, just totally flowing. But in that moment, ego goes, and you just go, thank you, Rebecca. You just got to go, well, by the grace of God, I am what I am. And His grace to me is not without effect. I showed up, and right where I was, in the moment, with the experience, with the stuff, up, down, all around, that's what it was. And as a musician, when you sit down, you just have that dang thing, just a dang. It's like stepping up to the plate and the ball just slides right past you, and you just kind of go, I had my time at bat, and you just have it. That's exactly right. And because I had been talking to you, and because it's the discernment, it's the choice of my life, right? Is that we're going to get so free. We're going to get so free. And I realized at that moment, I couldn't play my Epic Pro card. I was going to have some certain number of people in the room that were going to go, oh, too bad. They were going to go, well, I heard she was good, but, maybe not. I mean, yeah. Or here's the one. Yeah, she's getting a little older now. Wow. That little voice of her, it's probably going. And then my daughter, oh, well, she's amazing. And, it's all out there. It is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to, and I just went and I sat down in my chair and had that afterthought moment. You guys know what I'm talking about, whether you had a confrontation and you I wish I could have said it, or and you're in that moment, and it was you showed up, and that's what happened. And I just went, yep. It's good. And I didn't have shame. There would have been time when that would have been just deeply shaming. Like, well, that moment defined you. That was it. That was your prove it. And it's not, yeah, I absolutely had some ego. Like, yeah, I want to nail this note. I want to be up there, me and me, we're going to nail our high notes. and then afterwards I went, you know what? And now I have to, it is what it is. That's right, Lisa. And then I thought, well, now, sometimes when you do a really great performance or you do something, you're going to get some verbal affirmation from people. You just know they're going to go, wow, I didn't know, or whatever. And it's always lovely after a show. That's part of the community of ministry relationship, is the back and forth of, I appreciate what you did. I value that. I didn't know that about you. Wow, what a great contribution you just made. And I knew in that moment that I was going to have to really be careful and not to expect any of those kind of comments. Number one, it's not a great idea to base how you feel about anything you do based on the after comments. Number one. That's always makes that you can go and hit it out of the park, even in your own way. But then if you're around like a Hoover vacuum cleaner trying to suck up everybody's affirmation, it just kind of ruins it. It's like the opposite of the Apostle Paul going, I got all these weaknesses, but I'm confident. We go like, well, I knocked it out of the park and I was still super insecure and needed everybody to pat me on the back, right? So I thought, I'm just going to have to show up, and I'm going to have to just be gracious and just let this thing go and not expect any whatever's out of it. And sure enough, there weren't like people trying to make me feel better. Sometimes people will come to you after you do something and you mess up and they go, nice try. Good job. No, people didn't really do, it was a low. It was like, no, even though there was so much good music and so much anointing and so much beauty. And I'm really thrilled with those songs and so much of what happened when I played. It was really powerful. And, but nobody, it's just one of those deals. You got to live with it. And so, I just thought, I'm going to have to leave that right where it is. I'm going to have to interact with all these people, just hold my head high and go, we're not going there. And it was so good. It was so healthy. It was so, some of the most important moments in our lives are looking that thing right in the eye. I remember the first time I confronted the alcoholic in our family. And I broke up the system and I said, no, I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. I went from being the perfect child, the perfect child, to this, oh, darling, you're so la la la, to being the focus of evil in the modern world. The rage that came out at me when I dared to shake up the system was so alarming. And I think intuitively it was my worst fear, that if I ever did shake up the system, because I had a role, it was clear what my role was, enabling, that I would exactly have that high note, you suck moment, except for it was in relationship, and it came with shame, and it came with angerness. It came with angerness. And so I remember feeling the focus. I went, oh my gosh. after all my life being little angel Julie Lavender from Bakersfield, California, and with all my, and being the spiritual one and the one who picks up the pieces and helps everyone and is so compliant and does all these things. And I dared to call this thing out and set some boundaries. And now I am literally the focus of evil in the modern world. And it just came at me like a blaze. And I had some guys, by the way, when this happens, it's good for you to have support. It's good for you to be educated when you're dealing with your fear issue. You can educate yourself. I had to read a lot of books about stage fright, find out what was happening to my body. And I had to learn a lot about alcoholism and these kind of things. And so you don't have to be unprepared out of nowhere, just going in the shame hole when it all comes down upon you, when you try to shake things up. You need some guardrails in your life. And so after I was the focus of evil in the modern world, I remember sort of having this little bit of relief, little inkling of, wow, I have now, the thing I was terrified, it really happened. And somehow I'm okay. I didn't die. Wow. I lived to tell another day. I lived to sing another song. I lived to set another boundary. Wow. We have to have those worst fear moments, and God knows when to have them. He was kind enough that in the course of the insecurity that I had when I was really, really terrified, I had some moments when I wished the note, the last note of the song, you got to have the right breath, have enough breath, and you want to get your articulation started for that note so you can hold it through the process. I've had a number of things where I thought, dang, I could have done that better or whatever, but not the CAC moment from Saturday night. Wow, that was Saturday Night Live CAC. And I'm thankful that God, I didn't have to face it during some of those other things, but I had to face it. And I had to know that when I did it, and when I faced the thing, that I didn't die. By the grace of God, I am what I am, and His grace to me is not without effect. This is it. I showed up, did it, and people didn't pat me on the back and tell me I was gorgeous and fabulous and wonderful and oh my gosh, blah, 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 blah. They were like happy to be there, and there was so many more things to talk about besides me. Can you imagine that? I don't know. Maybe that was the problem. But and then it was beautiful because then my kids started the Mom Hall of Fame thing. So now I'll tell you about that in a minute. But one of the things that happened was that this person came up, and I read a Shel Silverstein poem that's so fun. And he came up, I love Shel Silverstein. We started talking. It turned into this glorious ministry thing, and so much just the creativity and the energy to be able to flow from jazz to art to dance to this to that and to ministry. It was just like that painting right there. And the avocado. That's supposed to be a flame, but don't you think that looks more like an avocado? Like when I painted the ugly monkey baby. I have my ugly monkey baby singing moment. And you guys need to know that. And you need to know you can actually come to the point where you can laugh and you can go, thank God I just showed up and it was all there. Oh my gosh. It was just there, and somehow I'm really, really okay. That's one of the keys to fear-free living, is so much grace and so many bumpers around your life of goodness and acceptance. And you can build that kind of community in your family, and you can build that kind of community between your ears, and you can receive that from God. And now we have another one for the Mom Hall of Fame. I have 4 or 5 massive Lucille Ball moments in my life, and they come up regularly. My kid, because part of our love language around here is humor, and if you can't laugh at yourself, you're not going to be happy around us. But so one of my mom moments is that if you go to the basement in one of our places, you'll see this big, huge splotch of gold-colored paint, and it says "Mom was here" written on top of it in Sharpie. It's because one day I wanted to touch up the walls. I'm a big wall toucher-upper. And I grabbed a can of paint, and it was one of those big ones with the little hole thing in it. And I looked in and I thought, I don't know if there's any paint here. I wonder if there's any of this left. And so I literally, just without even thinking, I took the can of paint, looked into the hole, dumped it like this to see if there was any paint in it. It just covered me in paint. me in my eye. Like, is there any paint in here? And it's all over the floor. So that is Mom Hall of Fame. So guess what is now in the Mom Hall of Fame? Find you beyond every fear. That is now, it is out there. It is part of the epic story of my Lucy moments. It's never leaving me. It's right up there with Don't Tell My Husband. I went to the gas station, shared the gospel. It was so full of the anointing. I drove away with the pump handle in the car and ripped it from the thing. Yes, I did. Honey, don't watch this scope, because that's why it was an extraordinarily large charge on your credit card a few months ago to pay for the handle, because I drove away. I was so excited that I'd shared the gospel and the power of God that I was like, yay, I get in the car and just rip the thing right out. Oh, the things you'll say on social media, I don't know. The point is, guys, there's so much freedom. And there's a place for you with the cracks in your voice and the difficulties you have and the ups and downs and the lack of elegance and suavidity and all those things that you embody at this point where you show up and do your best, especially in ministry, when you're sharing the gospel, when you're praying for the sick, when you're interceding, when you're sticking your little neck out. I am actually, believe me, I'd love to go back and sing that note a different way and just have the whole, because I'm an artist. I like to see the beauty of it all, the well-crafted sentence, the beautifully finished this, that, or the other thing. But I got to tell you, I think it was probably more important for me to have had that moment and know that I'm loved. Love, love, love. So easy to say, it just spins off the tongue. But what is it like to be utterly, matchlessly free? So freely loved. Could you believe someone knows all your tricks, all your schemes, and the way you get in your last licks? Could you believe you are loved? Could you believe that despite who you are, that you're worth all the effort to woo from afar? Could you believe you are loved? So break out the marshmallows, marbles, and jacks. Splash in some puddles, take time to relax. It's possibly possible there are new facts, and you can dance as you choose to believe, dance as you choose to receive, dance as you choose to believe. You are loved, 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 loved. You are loved. And the Lord will always give you a way to plant a flag of victory on a grave of defeat. So I will sing that note again. And I got to sing for you guys today. So go do something that scares you. Even if it means in the process you face a worst fear and it doesn't turn out that you're just like so perfect, because you're going to get more free because you did. All right? I love you guys. We're going to kick butt in just a few days. We're giving birth to a new season, a new renewed presidency, freedom in so many ways, new art, new music, new relationships. Stay tuned. I'll see you on the other side. I'll see you tomorrow.